So, welcome viewers to our next episode of Mind Matters, where we are bringing together experts from various walks of life to share their insights on why mental wellness is important. Uh, Recent research shows that there has been an increase of over 20% in the number of people suffering from stress related issues at the workplace. And 76% of respondents to that survey said that they had a negative impact on their personal relationships as well. 66% said they lost sleep because of this, and 16% have quit jobs because they couldn't handle the stress. So today's focus is going to be around uh, stress at the workplace and what do we need to be doing about it to address the challenge. I'm Dr. Karthik Nagendra. I'm a certified life coach, a hypnotherapist, and cognitive behavioral therapist. Today, I have with me a very special guest. We have with us Heather Saville Gupta. She's the Group HR Director for the MullenLowe Lintas Group. She's originally from UK. She spent over the last 25 years working with some world-class companies like P&G, McKinsey Erickson, JWT, UTV, and Lowe Lintas in marketing, account management, and HR roles. So she's held senior leadership positions in various companies. She's also operated out of Bangkok, and then she's had a stint at Mumbai. And very interestingly, she was also responsible for completely reinventing the company while at UTV. So she was heading the popular youth channel called Bindas. So she got to work on that. She spent 5 years as an HR consultant, working with small, medium-sized companies in India, offering HR consultancy, training, and coaching solutions to a range of companies before again joining with Lowe Lintas. She's an ICF trained executive coach and is currently studying for advanced diploma in HR with UK's Chartered Institute of Personal and Development. She's currently the president of Association of Mumbai Coaches. She is married to Vivek and is a mother to two boys, aged 7 and 9. She tries to balance her busy life with yoga and Netflix. So, with that introduction, welcome, Heather. Really nice to have you here today.
Thank you so much. You're giving my Netflix addiction secret away.
Yeah, so that's kind of very interesting. So on one side there is yoga, and the other side there is Netflix. So that's really amazing. So Heather, like I was mentioning, there's a lot of data which is showing that the stress levels at workplaces are increasing, and especially post the current COVID situation, this has amplified even further. So how can people cope with these peculiar circumstances that have now become the order of the day?
So you're right. I think the biggest concern for me currently as an HR leader is the issue of mental health. We work in the advertising industry. It's a high pressured industry, tends to be a lot of late nights, tends to be relentless with deadlines, and stress has always been part and parcel of what we do as advertising people. But now it's gone to another level. And I think the concern that I'm feeling is that people are feeling so much pressure. It's like a pressure cooker, right? At some point, it's going to just explode. So we want to try and make sure that we're able to offer people solutions well before that happens. And there are many, many things that people can do. But it starts with, I think, an acceptance that one needs to play a part in one's own mental health. So one part of it is the organization offering support, which we do a lot of. We have a mental health counselor. We just ran a 1-month mental health focus activity to make sure people understood that there was support and we could talk about these issues as well. We have a doctor on site. We try and make people take their leave. We try and tell our senior people to push back and protect people's lunchtimes and night times and Sundays and so on. But it also has to start with a recognition that I can take control of my own life, and I need to also push back and make space for my own mental health. So a lot of the conversations we have, people say, no, you don't understand. Clients pressuring me, no, you don't understand. This is happening. No, you don't understand. I have no choice. And we all have a choice. Yeah. So a lot of the conversations are around, look, you always have a choice. How can we help you to make these things happen for yourself?
Okay.
So that's a lot of
that's the key. I think it's that you being aware that you have that choice, because a lot of times we see that you tend to put the entire focus on the external elements, while not acknowledging that it's your choice, that you get to control your mental wellness as well.
Yeah.
So interestingly, there was a data, I think, from HubSpot movement, which I was reading recently, which said uh, during the pandemic situation, and especially when we had the lockdowns that were imposed, a lot of people were either grounded at home with family or they were alone. And interestingly, the data showed that 3 out of 4 people were feeling a lot more lonely, even though they were there with their family members.
Mm.
So do you think being together with family members for extended periods also can cause stress?
I mean, it goes without saying. See, the fact is that people irritate each other, right? As human beings, we have a great tendency to irritate each other because we're all different, right? We all have different styles, different preferences. And that's part and parcel of the excitement of life. That's why life is so rich, right? Because we are all so different. And that's fine normally. But when you put people into a pressure cooker type of situation, where you're saying literally you are locked into this room or house or bungalow or apartment or whatever with these people for now, what, 5.5 months, maybe even coming up to 6 months, it is inevitable that frustrations will occur. That those small behavioral habits you found charming in your spouse at one point, which is why you married him or her, end up becoming a source of irritation. And when you can't leave that place, and we all kind of go out with our girlfriends for drinks and kind of have conversations. My husband will go to Goa and meet his friends. These are places we all let off steam, right? And we get away from that family environment and we return healthier and happier and able to kind of connect with our spouses. Now that can't happen right now. So those small irritations can blow up into kind of major deals. So it's really important that we all recognize that first of all, and find ways of still getting that space from people, even if we're living in sort of constricted, confined environments. So you have to find your place in your pattern and still find that me time and those individual moments where you can recharge somehow, even given the current situation. So we have a terrace in our building. It's not very large and it's not very fancy, but it's a place where one can go and just look at the sky and be alone, right? So maybe I need to step up there for 20 minutes in a day. Maybe I need to go to another room, close the door, put on my Netflix or whatever, and just kind of shut everything out. Whatever it is, I need to have that time away from those people who I love dearly, but who by definition we're gonna irritate each other, right?
That's really true. In fact, incidentally, even I have a breakout zone. So that's my garden, my terrace garden. So where, like you rightly said, just go there, sit down all by yourself, look at the trees, look at the sky, and just breathe for.
Yeah. Or if you don't have that, and you're very fortunate to have that, just go downstairs. I mean, there are roads, they're packed and whatever. There must be, with your mask, but there must be somewhere. Go stand under a tree somewhere, but somewhere where you can just see a different environment. Because the other thing is 5 months of looking at the same thing.
Yes.
Same eye level, same walls. I'm looking at my house and I'm becoming irritated by all the things in my house, which never used to irritate me, right? And I'm sort of rearranging them and all of this, but essentially it's the same space.
True.
When I go up to my terrace and I have that, maybe it's just 20 minutes, sun is setting, everything looks calm, the city is unusually quiet. I come back down and my kids who were irritating me 20 minutes earlier, it's fine.
Yeah.
I've kind of re-energized my mind. I'm looking at them again like my lovely children.
True.
Rather than these irritating little things that keep kind of annoying me. So it's just about getting back into that zone of being refreshed somehow.
Refreshed. True. There was another study which I came across that shows that 54% noticed considerable decrease in their me time. So how do you see the lack of me time impacting mental wellness of employees?
So this is really, really critical. This whole concept of me time, we are stretched further and further to do things for other people in life, right? I mean, there's always somebody who needs something apart from work, right? There's always somebody who wants something. There's something that's needed in the house. There's something that needs to be ordered. There's something that needs to be cooked. There's a child that needs to be fed. I mean, the list is literally endless.
True.
So you can't wait for those lists of things to stop to have your me time. To say, okay, I'll do it when everybody else is, it's not going to happen. So we have to almost put these this me time into our agendas, into our diaries, because the holidays have gone.
Yes.
That 2 week or, twice a year, 2 week break that we maybe used to take has gone for the time being.
Yeah.
Right. So it's almost like scheduling that time. So whatever it may be for you. I mean, for me, it's as I said, Netflix is great. Just stupid shows that I switch off and watch. Running a bath and sitting in the bath and just relaxing, taking my Kindle and reading something, whatever it may be.
Yeah.
And I make sure that everything else in the house is taken care of by my husband, usually, or somebody, or one of my helpers that I have in the house. So everything is managed, and therefore I have that time. My challenge is to use that time in a way that's not doing things. Because I'm very task orientated, right? So I always want things, and I'm always in my head, is everything okay? So I have to literally tell myself, this 1 hour has been created for you to do nothing apart from relax. So whatever that is to me, even reading, I mean, rather than reading some intellectual tome or some work related matter, I'll try and read something which is genuinely, absolutely relaxing. It doesn't require too much of interaction from me. So I can just, and I feel myself getting into the state of relaxation.
I think that's the key point. Yeah, that's a good point.
And you have to work really hard to make that happen, right? Because there's always something to be done.
Yes, yes.
Particularly now, right? So whenever it is, I mean, and also play to your time clock. Some people work very well in the early morning. So get up at 5:36 and do that in the morning. Some people prefer to do it in the middle of the night. So do your 2 a.m., 1 a.m., 3, whatever works for you. Just carve out that time. It doesn't have to be very long. I mean, for me, an hour max. But it's important that I make myself really relax and switch off in that 1 hour.
True. I think the key point there was to say that when you take your me time, it has to be something which is for a lot more of relaxation. And you don't pack in too many things that you need to do at that time just because it's your me time as well. So
yeah, it should be want to do rather than need to do. It should be something that gives you some energy. And it could be many things. I mean, some people love to bake, for example, right? So, but rather than cooking dinner for the family, which in itself becomes a chore, bake something that you really want to bake. Experiment with that cake recipe, experiment with that whatever you've discovered online, something which is just really fun and enjoyable and not for a particular purpose. You're just enjoying it and having fun.
True. That's very right. So moving on that particular aspect. So right now there's a lot of uncertainty around with respect to jobs, with respect to your financial position, the health condition of you or your loved ones or your family, friends, etc. And then you have the pressure of increasing work timelines as well. So literally the boundaries are blurred, right? Earlier you used to have a 9 to 6 or 9 to 9 or whatever. So now people have even lost track of when does the week start and when does it end. So there's no concept of a weekend anymore. And like you mentioned, no vacation that you can think of. So all these can play a huge role on the mental wellness. So how can companies probably chip in there and help employees overcome that aspect?
So I think one of the most important things, if you are working for an organization and you're not working on your own, is to feel part of that organization and to feel supported by that organization. So there's a lot of solace in belonging. Right? So my HR team and we have been very proactive in reaching out to people. Actually picking up the phone and calling people and having conversations rather than sending emails, which also works for some things, but people like that personal touch. And obviously people are busy, you can't impose on their time, but just a quick WhatsApp saying, hey, can we have a chat? And then just picking up the phone and saying, hope everything is okay, we're here for you. We've done this twice now with all of our 600 employees. So everyone has been spoken to personally. I think that also allows us to extract data about how people are feeling, what we need to do, what we need to do more of, take feedback. So it becomes a very two-way conversation. Rather than the company saying, this is what you need, this is what we're going to give you. We take suggestions, we take ideas, we take input. So that feeling part of a bigger piece, that feeling of belonging, feeling that we're all going through this together, I think is really important. And that's actually the other point, is that this is challenging for everybody and everybody on the planet.
Yes.
So I think never before has there been a situation where the whole world is struggling together.
Yes.
Even in SARS, I remember in 2003, it was largely an Asian thing. So I was living and working in Asia. My family and friends in the UK were not affected. Even with the financial meltdown in 2008-9, it was largely the US, and then obviously a fallout, but it wasn't like everybody was majorly affected. This is something which for the first time is truly global. So everyone's going through it. Everyone understands, everyone empathizes. You don't need to spend time explaining it because everyone gets it. So there's some comfort in that knowing that this is part of a global thing. People all over the world are tragically losing their jobs. Salaries are being cut. Costs are being pulled back, and everyone's in the same boat. So somehow that, I don't know, that gives a different kind of a perspective, I feel.
True. Yeah, that's interesting. Just to, so it's a solace to say that we are all in this together.
Yeah, it is. And you know, for everything we are feeling and every difficult situation we're going through, there's somebody else going through something which is the same, if not worse, right? Yeah. Now, nobody wants to revel in anybody else's suffering ever, but the point is that I try to tell myself to be grateful for what I have. Because there are people in far worse situations than I am. And that just gives me a bit of a reality check and a bit of a wake-up call, because, you know, it's human nature to moan. So I'll find myself moaning about the stupidest things, like, oh, why is my Wi-Fi not, you know, better in this particular room? And I'm like, hang on a second. I have Wi-Fi. I have a spare room in my house. I have this and I have that, and I don't have COVID, and I have a job. And so there's a bit of self-talk that happens, right? So I think recognizing that we are part of that bigger piece. Anyway, it certainly helps me.
That's great. That's nice. One other aspect which we came across, in fact, a study that we had done at Pink Ladder also, and this was focusing also with women. Interestingly, the data showed that about 40% of women felt their stress levels had increased, post this work from home situation which had come in. And about 70% of them believed that a lot of stress was also caused because their managers were micromanaging them too much. So that was in turn adding to their stress and mental wellness issues. So how could organizations avoid this?
Okay, so there are basically 2 points there, right? One is the point about I'm a woman and I'm feeling more stress. Yeah, and the other one is really about how can supervisors kind of help support.
Yes.
So the thing about being a woman, I mean, I believe it's a fact, at least in my experience, that most women end up taking what they call the emotional burden on, right? So it's about making sure that everybody has everything they need, making sure the homework is done, making sure that the birthday calls are done. I mean, not always, because men can also be fantastically supportive, but it's normally that the men in the family will help and pitch in, but they have to be told to do it. Yeah. So again, it's the woman that has to kind of keep everything in mind and make sure that the lists are there and that the kid has what the kid needs and this, that, and the other. So now everything is at home and classes are happening online as well. Yeah. I think a lot of that additional pressure, I mean, cooking has to happen, cleaning has to happen. And a lot of people I'm talking to, the men are absolutely pitching in, which of course they should do, right? Why should the women do it all? But again, it's a lot of times have to be asked to do it. Right? So again, the woman is the one taking responsibility, making sure that the cupboards are full, that the food is there, that all of this stuff. So that causes a lot of tension. Maybe because women are not trusting their husbands enough or their partners enough to do it. Maybe if we just sat back and said, let's see what happens, it would happen. Because women tend to be a bit more, in my experience, obsessive about making sure that everything is kind of there and done. Maybe if we relax a bit ourselves, it would sort of help. But yeah, I think that's a big stress point. The point about what can seniors do, see, there is a lot more stress now. The bigger picture is that revenue is down for most companies. Yeah. Right? Unless you happen to be with an OTT platform where your business is going through the roof, unless you happen to be working for Zoom where your business is certainly going through the roof. Yeah. Majority of businesses are down. People are not spending, right? Obviously. So there's a lot of pressure on the bottom line. Right? Now, when there's pressure on the bottom line, people get pushed extra hard to deliver. Yeah. Right? So try, pitch, try. And that pressure is intense in itself. Now, I have a lot of conversations with my leaders, and I just try to help them understand that they need to also help their people to push back.
Mm-hmm.
Right? It's not easy, particularly in India, which is a very hierarchical country.
Yes.
It's not easy to tell a client, listen, I understand it's urgent. I need 24 hours rather than 2, for example, right? Because everybody manages multiple clients and multiple businesses, right? And we all do it brilliantly. We multitask, we make everybody feel that their work is important and the number one priority, which is how it has to be. But there are unreasonable demands happening. You know, late night meetings on Sundays, meetings on Saturdays. I mean, we have to also push back and protect our people. So last week, for example, we declared Friday as a holiday for everybody.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Just a random Friday long weekend holiday, right? The first one we done.
Okay.
Because we had picked up from our conversations that people just needed just a day just to breathe.
Mm.
And that involved a lot of work before that announcement with our leaders to say, listen, we're planning this. Please make sure your clients are aligned to this.
Mm.
Please let them know that this is a mental health break for our people.
Mm.
Please ask them to respect that. And nothing can be that urgent that it can't wait for a day. And if it really can't wait for a day because we have deadlines, then let that person take the Monday off or the Tuesday off. Make sure there's an alternative for them. So these are things which very practically can also help people to get that space, particularly when they're down the line.
True. I think that definitely helps. And more importantly is having that alignment with the leadership team and the clients, because you don't want to declare a holiday and then clients are still calling up and asking.
It has to be managed, right? Because
Yeah,
I mean, everybody understands that people need space and a break.
True.
But if they're not given time in advance and they're not informed that this is going to be happening, of course they're going to be frustrated, right? If I can't reach my client service in person because that person hasn't told me they're not there, then I'll be frustrated and I'll take it out on him or her.
True.
If I'm told a week in advance that, listen, let's plan everything properly, Friday I won't be there, then I'm absolutely fine. So it's about managing it too.
That's true. So considering you are an ICF coach yourself, and as part of the coaching process, it also helps a lot of individuals, right, to overcome challenges which they have. So how do you think interventions like those can help people with managing their stress better or probably improving their mental wellness? And what role can organizations play in facilitating that?
The coaching piece specifically?
Coaching, but any other forms of intervention.
So there are 2 forms which can help. One is coaching, which is a more formal process, as you will know, of, you know, aligning with the coachee, setting a goal, working towards that. And there's also mentoring, a little more informal. So the person can feel supported by somebody else and can sort of ask their questions, and it's less of a structured kind of a process. Or it can be a blend of the 2. Right? So I personally use a lot of my coaching expertise and skills, not in formal coaching with my people, obviously that would be a conflict, but in just the conversations I have with them. So knowing how to ask certain questions, knowing how to take somebody on a bit of a journey of exploration, all of these things can be very useful in the kind of conversations I have on a day-by-day basis.
Okay.
And formal coaching interventions, of course, I mean, companies should be prioritizing these things right now, particularly because this is sort of a downtime in the sense that we're not traveling and we're not going to the office, so one can get on a Zoom call and do these kind of coaching interventions. The challenge becomes finding money for it because everyone's budgets have been cut. You know, I don't think, as I said, there are many companies that haven't had their discretionary expenses cut now. And convincing organizations of the value of investing at a time when budgets are tight is a little bit of a challenge, but more enlightened companies are still doing these kinds of things. They're still coaching, they're still training, they're still investing in employee welfare, engagement, learning skills, because that can't stop. Right? You can find creative ways to do it more cost effectively, for sure, but we can't stop completely.
But the same aspect, if you were to look at it from an individual standpoint, and if, you know, as an organization, you've identified that XYZ individual is going through severe mental stress right now and needs some intervention, and hence, as an organization, you're offering that. But many times we see that individuals take it differently, right? So they think, oh, does it mean, do I have a mental problem? And hence, are they suggesting these interventions for me? So what message would you have for people out there, individuals, who can leverage these interventions for their own personal and personal development, or for creating better mental wellness.
Right. So we're talking about mental wellness specifically, and therefore
Yes.
counseling as
Yeah.
opposed to coaching.
Yeah.
So the first thing that needs to happen is we need to normalize conversations around mental health. So our entire month-long mental health awareness focus was to do just that. We did a lot of social media. We did a couple of panel discussions. We had a lot of interaction around, look, it's okay to talk to somebody else.
Yeah.
It's okay. It's okay to admit that you're struggling. It's okay to admit that things are not going as perfectly as you would want them to go. Right? And that is the first step. Once you normalize these conversations and make it part and parcel of everyday life, then people understand that it's absolutely fine to reach out. So first of all, you normalize, and then you offer the solution.
Okay.
So we have mental health counselors. We give people the numbers. They call them directly.
Okay.
We also track usage. So we don't know who's talking to the counselors, but we track usage. We track the kind of topics and themes which are broadly coming out.
Okay. Okay.
We make sure that people are aware that they can call and use these services. And we found a very good take up of these services. I mean, people are really using them very well.
That's good. That's nice to hear.
Yeah. And people are telling us spontaneously, I had a chat with your mental health counselor. It was amazing. And I actually feel so much better.
That's really nice.
Talking can help, right?
True. Absolutely. Absolutely. Thanks once again, Heather. This was wonderful talking to you and understanding. I'm sure our viewers have also got insights into why this is so important, how a few ways in which organizations can probably support their employees in these times of crisis. And last but not the least, to know that, yeah, we are all in this together and we will overcome this as we move forward. Thanks once again for your time. It was really nice talking to you.
Thank you. Lovely speaking to you. Thanks for having me.
My pleasure.